Hey, I found a cool place to go. We can run or we can take it slow. Won't you come with me? Completely off topic. Mama said I never make it big. Well, Mama, I don't really feel that way. Won't you come with me? Completely off topic. Oh, ain't it nice to be completely off topic?
Hi, thanks so much for joining us again. This is Completely Off Topic with Susan
and Meg,
and where we talk to Calgary-based female artists about their bodies of work. We have a musician with us today who also is an actor and a painter, because why not, right? Kyla Ferrier.
Hey!
She's the Ferrierist of them all.
Yeah.
Yes. How are you?
I'm so well.
Good.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. We were just talking about how we don't actually know how we met, but we've known each other for about five-ish years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were in a sketch of mine, and my kids have worked on your sets, and you're an actor as well, and all this stuff. And I feel like I've followed your music on Instagram forever. But I was just wondering, like, where did you grow up?
I was born in kind of northern BC in a place called TELUS, and then I grew up kind of like younger kid years in Powell River, which is on the coast of BC. But it's like a little bit remote. You have to take ferries to get there from Vancouver. So that was like pretty idyllic, like small town, ocean childhood kind of thing. And then I was a teenager in Chilliwack.
Oh, wow.
Which is like when you're driving from BC to Alberta through the mountains, it's the place that you like want to close your windows because it smells terrible.
It's like being raised in Brooks, Alberta.
Is that Brooks has a bad smell?
Brooks just has it
has a meat packing plant, so it's like
on Sundays it's disgusting.
Okay.
Yeah. But probably not as bad as that in Chilliwack.
Yeah, Chilliwack, it's lots of like cornfields. So it's the fertilizer is just rank. Yeah. And so there's a mix of like different kinds of manure, and it's just all wafting into the air. But some of it I think is like ground up fish guts and like broccoli that's been turned into that's what I was told as a teenager. I actually don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah.
So when you're saying that you grew up in a coastal town, that terrifies me. The idea of like, I love the idea of it, but as a parent, I'm like, doesn't everybody just drown?
What? Like, what do you mean?
I don't know. I
Like
think
how?
it's because I don't know the ocean very well. Like
But do you think all the people that live on the ocean are just running into the ocean with
have
no
you seen
plan?
Moana? In Moana, she runs into the ocean picks her up and carries her away.
Oh, yeah.
Does that not happen?
Well, you just made me realize that, actually, when I was a little kid, my parents said that we'd go to the beach and I would run into the ocean, immediately start drowning, and they'd run and pull me out, and like, I'm hacking and coughing, and they'd calm me down, and then as soon as I'm fine, I would just run in and do it again. So maybe you're onto something.
Funny.
So I saw a medicine woman in Belize, and my friend had a similar thing, but it was a lake in Eastern Canada. And the medicine woman was like, you need to go back there, because she almost drowned in this lake. She's like, you need to go back there, because what it did is it took part of your spirit.
I was just going to say, you got to go call your spirit back.
You got to go get your spirit back. So maybe you were running back into the water to get your spirit back.
Yeah, maybe my spirit is still there. Shoot, I've been living this whole life
as an artist with no spirit.
So how did
you're in search of a spirit.
So I'm dying to know, how did you make it from BC then to Calgary?
To Calgary. Well, I've kind of moved a lot, especially in my 20s, kind of all over BC, Alberta, Calgary. So I don't know if you want the full rundown of that, but basically I had lived in Rosebud for a little while ago, about a decade ago. And then
Rosebud,
eventually,
Alberta?
Rosebud,
Did
Alberta.
you go to the school there?
I didn't go to the school there. Actually, I had recently completed a theater degree in BC, and then I had some kind of like loose connections to people who had graduated from Rosebud. And my friend one summer, I had nothing to do, and then a friend who was connected said, you should just move to Rosebud and see what happens. So I just moved there and worked, and there's like the buffet that happens before the theater shows. So I just worked in, it's called the Mercantile, and
Oh yeah. Oh cool.
and did that, and
Yeah.
that's why I moved there, just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people, everyone asked me if I went to school there, but I did not
Yeah.
at all. No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh cool.
Yeah.
And then so that got you close enough to Calgary. You kind of.
Yeah, then I just ended up connecting with, at one point, someone I met there was living in Calgary and needed a roommate. And I don't remember exactly what I was doing at the time, but I just knew that I had met the person once. Her name's Elisa Van Hastert. I don't know if she used to act a bunch, and I think recently has gotten more into like, raising her kids. And also she works at Plant. And is a manager at Plant, and is like so good with flowers and plants and stuff. Sorry, I'm really going on a journey. Anyways,
We're here for it.
Yeah.
she posted that she wanted a roommate, and I saw the post, and I was like, I like that lady. I want to get to know her. I'll move to Calgary and live with you. And I just moved here for that.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Which actually, now that I think about it, like, it sounds kind of,
You're like a hippie.
I guess, but it sounds like it was like an intense like move. Who moves for just like a random person they don't know?
People all of the time. And
Do
they get
they?
married to them too.
But that's what I mean. Is like it's usually for some kind of like lover kind of thing. And this was just someone I met once who I was like, you seem like a cool person.
Maybe
I want to
that's
get to know
healthier.
you. Maybe. Yeah.
So you move and you move and you move, and then you come to Calgary. And is that kind of just how you go through, like, is that kind of like a pattern for you in life? You just like, you see something that interests you or sparks something and you go towards that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think especially in my 20s, it was much more with moving. I was in that pattern. And part of me wonders if it was being like led by curiosity. And part of me wonders if it was just like built into my body to have like an itch after a year, because in being in school, there's like that rhythm of like school year, and then in university, I would go move there for the 8 or 9 months or whatever it is, and then move somewhere else for the summer. And I think I just kept going in that cycle until I was in my early 30s of like at least once a year, I'd be like, well, I gotta move. If it wasn't the city, then I would move places, and I never lived anywhere longer than a year. And it's only in the last, like, I think my apartment now where I live is the longest I've lived anywhere since I was 17, and I've been there 4 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, but before that, it was a lot of shifting all over the place. Yeah.
I feel like for me, like I grew up in the same house. You've been to my house, my parents' house.
Yeah.
I grew up there and they never moved. Like my parents have had that house since 1975, I think.
Whoa.
And my mom just keeps renovating it. Like she just gets the new kitchen or takes a wall out, builds the wall back, puts in an arch, like she just constantly shifting and changing
She's
it.
taken a wall out and then put the wall back?
She has. But in a different way. It was like there was no wall for years. And then she kind of liked the room being a bit divided. So she kind of put in like a wall with an arch over top. So it wasn't like the full wall with just a doorway. It was quite open, but there's an arch and there's like kind of columns and an opening. Like she's artsy.
Oh,
She's
columns.
like, yeah.
Does it feel like going to Greece?
No, not at all. It never did feel like Greece. But I don't know. She's always painting a different color or adding different, and she now paints on canvas. So then she has a whole thing of paints. Anyhow, that's not where I was going with this.
I like
So
it. I like it.
My parents are so like rooted. Do you know what I mean? And they're never going to move unless it's like to a nursing home kind of thing, And then I've always just wanted to go. So
you move a bunch too.
Yeah, like 18, I was in Toronto auditioning for dance. And then I came back to Calgary, auditioned for a cruise ship. It was literally the worst audition of my life. I forgot halfway through. I never forget. I just forgot. I was so embarrassed by like some of the people in the audition that were like, they would be auditioning and they would be like, and I was like, I'm not from the city. I'm not from the city. Like I was just.
What do you mean? Like you were embarrassed for them, or you embarrassed that you weren't acting like that?
No, I did not want to act like that. No, I danced in LA
good.
and Toronto and all this stuff, and where it's like way more like you know, like more like you're in the music videos of the time. You know what I mean? Which
Okay.
is way more cool rather than being like, hi, I'm going to show you my dance face. And I was just so embarrassed to be back here. I feel bad saying all of this, but it's true.
It didn't make you feel like I'm coming back and you have a one-up on you guys because you guys are acting like fools and I'm the cool.
No, I
Yeah.
felt like you're going to see me as one of them, and I don't want you to see me as one of them.
Oh.
But so anyhow, I messed up the audition. And then 6 months later, I get a call.
Wait. How did you mess up the audition?
I just forgot the dance. Like they teach you a dance, you do it a few times,
Oh.
whatever. I just kind of forgot it. And I was just
Oh,
like, I'm not even
shoot.
here. I'm just done. But for whatever reason, they call me 6 months later. They're like, hey, we have a cruise ship that starts in about 2 weeks. One of the people that are supposed to be on it can't be. We need somebody who doesn't need a visa. So in Canada, we need somebody 5'9". So can you do it? I'm like, how am I even on this list? They're like, oh, you passed the audition. I'm like, how did I pass the audition? Literally the worst audition of my life. And that's the one I get.
Mhm.
Anyhow, so then I'm on cruise ships, and then I moved to Vancouver, and then I'm on cruise ships, and then I moved to England, and then Ibiza, and then I'm on cruise ships. And then it's like we decided we're going to go to Calgary because it's the cheapest place to invest my ex-husband's English. So it was like England just went up 100% in their real estate market. So we're like, we'll go start in Calgary, but we'll keep moving. Well, he did not want to. He was rooted. He wanted to stay here. So we did move houses. Like we bought a house, then we moved to a different house, but only a few. And then he was like, we had a house and he was like, I'm good. And I'm like, no, but with your work, we could like travel. We could go to Australia. You could just transfer. We could go to Spain. We could go. And he was just like, oh, I'll check. But he told me after we were getting divorced, he's like, I never checked. I'm like, what? He never wanted to move. He didn't want to do that anymore. Whereas I'm still like that. Like I go to Toronto, I go to Central America, South America. I'm always like, I feel like I'm the same. I have a place I can always come home. And I feel like maybe it's because my parents are so rooted. I can always go back to my parents.
Yeah.
I can't, I would never, but you know what I mean? So I feel like I just want to go and see where the world is and what people are doing and just not be stuck, something like that, you know?
Yeah.
How about you? You've always been here.
Yeah, I've always been here. I mean, I lived in Lethbridge for when I went to university.
Wow. What was that like?
It
Lethbridge?
was bustling. You guys. So
I can't tell if
nice.
you're being. I've never been to Lethbridge actually.
No.
It's beautiful. It's lovely.
It's brown. So the 8 months that you're there from like September to April or whatever, it's dry and brown. And then did I say April to September? September until April, like through the winter, it's just brown. And then there's like 1 month that no one lives there because there's no school on, that it's like beautiful and lush.
Yeah.
I saw it once. I was there for like 4 years and I saw it once. That it was lush.
I have a friend who went there and said she used to walk to school and a deer would walk alongside her.
Yeah, like it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's picturesque, and like Lethbridge itself is a beautiful landscape. But yeah, it's a little town. It's not like you're there for school. It's not like, you know, city life.
It's like cheap. My friends went there, like they would go to University of Lethbridge. They said they did a lot of drinking.
Yeah.
And then they went to U of C to get their degree, the rest of their degree, but it was like, or the other way around, so that they got it cheaper. And it was, they enjoyed it more because it was a smaller
Yeah.
vibe.
Like it was definitely a fun like campus student life for sure. I went to Mount Royal first and then their theater program. And then I needed to upgrade if I wanted to go to U of C or to go to U of A. And I didn't want to spend that much more time in school. So U of Lethbridge took me as like a third year student. So I went there and I finished my BFA. And then I decided that I should be a teacher, and I got my ed degree down there too. But I'm not a teacher. I did not enjoy that aspect.
You did not.
No. I taught for a few years and I hated it so hard. Just hated it.
It's like you were trying to find a nice way to say it, and then you're just like, no, I hated it.
Yeah, before you even before it came out of your mouth, in my head, I was speaking for you, and I was like, I hated it.
Yeah, I did not care for teaching. Did not care for that life at all.
What did you hate about it?
I hated the bureaucracy of the public school system. That was like for sure. Turns out not a huge fan of kids actually.
I could take it.
So like that.
You hate them.
I didn't hate them. They were the most tolerable part. I hated their parents. And and then
I feel
like
that would feel the same.
other teachers, like being a teacher is a really hard job. Didn't like there were some teachers who I loved so dearly, and there were some teachers that I was just like, I can't believe you're like taking this like arguably like such important practice and just treating it like garbage. Like I guess also that like I had a respect for what the purpose of the job is, and I just saw people just not respecting that, and that really grossed me out too. So all those things made me just really hate the environment.
I have to change my spot.
Yeah.
So I taught when Jace was little. I went to a school in kind of in the Acadia Fairview area, and I was teaching hip hop because I was like a friend of mine, like a dance friend. Her mom taught there, and she was like, "We need somebody to teach a dance program." I'm like, "Oh, I would do like a week. Someone would do it." So I went and I had to learn all the new hip hop of that time, whatever. So I did it. I show up and they're like, actually, could you just make a dance for every, I was going to use the same class and just alter it to make it more advanced or less advanced. And they're like, did you teach a dance for every class and we're going to have a showcase at the end of the week? I'm like, oh, well, I'm not getting paid enough for this. Anyhow, I was on a lunch break or something, and I was in the staff room, and these teachers came up to me and they're like, oh, you've got grade 6. You've got grade 6 now. And I was like, what's wrong with grade 6? Like, oh, a lot of the kids are busting. And I was like, oh, okay. They're like, yeah, it's a lot of trouble. So good luck. Let us know if you need any help.
What do you mean bust in?
From the res is what they they had this such a negative attitude towards these kids. So then I go in and I'm like, I don't care. This is hip hop. Like, I don't care who's in my class. This is hip hop. It has nothing to do with how good you are at math or if you put up your hand or, whatever it is that they care about. And so I taught hip hop to this group of kids, and they were in there.
I was gonna say,
they were in there. Yeah, they loved it. And so at the end of the week, we have this show, and the gym is full of parents. And it's during the day. I'm like, what are these parents? How
do they get this time off?
Yeah. So some parents came up to me afterwards like, thank you so much. My kid has literally never asked me to come to the school for anything. And they're like, you have to come see us. You have to come see us. And like all this, it was so cool. And it was literally just because gave them a chance, didn't care. It's art, it's dance, have fun with it. And they were so invested. They wanted to look so cool. And I took a lot of stuff from music videos. So then they were like, yeah. But it was just, I don't know, it was a cool experience. And it was just seeing teachers that were just like gave up on these kids.
That was exactly the stuff that I was just like, I can't.
You need a different job because you shouldn't be shaping kids that are so beautiful and innocent and lovely and maybe come from a hard place or not. Like every human is going to be difficult in some way or another. And you should try to help them. Because that's your job.
So I like what the it's noble, like what it should be. And the people who are doing that work, I think it's such an important thing, right? Like it's our future, it's our collective future. And I have respect for that, but the way that it was going, I just was like, I can't participate in this. It was that was a hard life change because I did that for like 5 or 6 years and I was young and I was like worried my parents would be disappointed, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I was gonna say I was in a program that was kind of like you did your teachables, like 2 minors and then an education program concurrently. And I wanted to be a high school teacher. And a lot of what you're saying, I'm like, oh, I feel like those are all the things that freaked me out about it. Like the bureaucracy and politics and the stress of dealing with parents and all those kinds of things. And I remember also going and doing a practicum where I went into a middle school, like grade 7, 8 class. And the entire class was just the kids like ripping their teacher apart and their teacher like kind of acting like they were jerks. And I was like, this dynamic seems like not I think I just got scared or like, didn't have like great examples of teachers who just like worked with kids where they were at. Like this teacher had not won them over. And so then I think it just freaked me out. Yeah.
Well, and I think the thing with parents too is that like as a parent of a kid in school, like we all want what's best for our kids, but somehow along the way, there became like a real distrust between parents and teachers. So the parents are like, I don't know what kind of garbage these teachers are teaching our kids. Like that was really the attitude that I kept running into. So I was like, so they were like skeptical about any level of expertise as a teacher or your subject matter. And so that was also really frustrating to see. And it's so sad because it's like, again, for our future, we need that collective care for our kids and in the system. So yeah.
My kids go to like a Spanish bilingual school, and I found that the coolest teachers come from Spain, because they get teachers from like South America and Spain will come. They live in Canada, but the coolest ones are the ones that are here for like 2 years from Spain. They teach project-based learning, and so they'll do math, social science, language, all in one project, and they'll find all the elements of what needs to be taught in this project they're doing. And it's like my kids are so engaged and they're so loving it that it's like I love that kind of teaching. And it's not the memorize or the regurgitate the facts. It's the let's think about this. And that's, I remember, we were talking about this the other day, and I had a teacher in high school. I didn't like social studies. I found it boring because all we did was memorize things and talk about politics and whatever. And he had us had a volcanic island, and we had to create a system where we were self-sufficient with this island. So we had to talk economics and like food and what everybody's going to do, and if we have religion or if we have all these different things, like how do we bring the community together and work as a team. And it was like, I remember it. I remember where we put the farming on the side of the volcano because it was like really fertile soil, and like things like that actually impact how you learn and create the connections. And look how well I turned out. I am acing life. Thanks, Mr. Sabra. It's like one of the only names I remember, Mr. Fortini and Mr. Sabra. Mr. Fortini, oh, he was hot. He was my grade 9 teacher. He had one of those question boxes.
I had a sex ed teacher that did that, but I'm not sure I can some of the questions they read out, I don't know if you want on your podcast. The only question I really remember is like we were in an auditorium, and I think there was about 100 of us in there, and this lady was like really trying to prove how she was like, I'm like so cool, like sex ed lady, like ask me anything, like I'm down, like it doesn't matter. And then I think the first question she read out what is a donkey punch? And then she just very calmly explained the process.
The process.
The process of a donkey punch.
We should make a video. The process of a donkey punch.
The process of a donkey punch.
First off, you need to have
a partner.
A partner.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Wow.
I taught it one semester, and I brought in the public health nurse to teach all of sex ed, just because it also took a little bit of pressure off the kids. If they're learning it from a stranger, it's actually more comfortable than like your teacher, or your parents or whoever. So she came in, and we had just got smart boards, which are like touch sensitive, but she was used to working with like the old like projectors. So she had someone had helped her transfer her projector show onto the slideshow that was going to be on the smart board. There's there's like the cross sections of everybody's body, right? Of the male body, the female body, whatever.
Like you mean like a
like
profile?
It's like chopped in half.
Okay.
And you can see the innards from the half. So it's that version of a man's body, flaccid. And
it has to be flaccid.
So
I've never seen one of those diagrams where it's not flaccid.
So she had the other one too.
Interesting.
So she's like pointing at all this stuff, and she's been talking. It's like here. She's talking about testicles, and she touches them on the screen and like pats, and it prompts to the next screen, which is the other version of the cross section of the male body. So it's not flaccid anymore. Yeah. So in like patting the testicles, now it's like, and she just like didn't even miss a beat. And she's like, and that's what happens
when you pat them like
when
this.
you pat them. And she's like, Oh my God, everybody was laughing, and she had the kids, like they would ask her anything after that, and she was like, yeah. But I
That's
remember
a good
being
little
like,
shtick to
this
get
is
it started.
Oh, it's
yeah,
amazing.
it was so funny. But none of us, she didn't know that touching.
Oh, she didn't know
She
that would
didn't know
happen.
that would happen. So she's
I
just
thought
like
she did that from like anytime
from then on. Yeah, yeah,
That's a winner.
yeah. It
Oh.
was really funny.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, she was so great, and the kids were so grateful to her, and yeah. So sometimes they get it right. Like sometimes they're so awesome.
Okay, what was your parents' talk with you? The birds and bees talk. How was that delivered?
My parents did no talk at all.
Sounds
ever.
about right.
I learned everything through my middle school best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Through experience it with the best friend or the best friend telling
No,
you?
she just had the 411.
Yeah. Older siblings?
I have an older sibling. She's like 8 years older. But
Oh, I mean like her. Did she have older siblings
did
so she knew
she?
everything or?
She had one older sister, but I think she more was just in the thick of things, experiencing it, and so she was, having fun out there in the world, and then telling me her stories. And I was not, like, I was, raised really conservative and not doing much of anything. But then I, through my friendship with her, got the details. And it actually, like, it was strangely morphed into, like, through middle school, high school, I continued to be quite prudish in practice, but I really, like, overcompensated for it by just, like, really leaning into dirty humor and, like, saying crass things just to get shock value.
Yeah, especially if somebody appears prudish, right? It's way more fun.
Yeah, so just, like, the nastier I could get with the things I was saying, that was fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
What about you, Meg?
Yeah. Also, not a talk. But I had some really good sex ed teachers.
Oh.
So we had this one teacher. She was so smart. She did not want to teach us sex ed, but she was the phys ed teacher. And so she just put us in this classroom, which was like a borrowed classroom from someone else who had a spare or something at the time. And she had a basket of tampons and a basket of condoms. And she was like, I got some stuff I got to do down at the office, so I will be right back. Anyway, take a look at this stuff, and I'll be back. And we were like, okay. And then by the time she came back, I will never forget, there was a kid in class who had a condom over his head and was like blowing it up with his nostrils. And we had them on our arms and legs, and we were like so much experimentation. But then that made us like not afraid to use those things as we, and same thing, we had like tampon earrings. Like we just made arts and crafts out of this crap she left there. And she was not mad. Like when she came back, she was like, so I knew she obviously does that every year.
Yeah.
That was her thing. So, yeah.
My friend has really big nostrils. Just sometimes when we were young, would put tampons up her nostrils. Like, hey, is this where I was supposed to go?
Like full on with the applicator or little OBs?
Yeah, just the tampons.
Yeah.
No, it was like a super size or whatever they were. You know what I mean?
goodness,
But she
yeah.
could get it right up there. She's like, oh, I don't know. Do I have something hanging on my nose? So
What was your talk like? What happened to you?
Well, I am raised in the Catholic school board.
Oh, yes.
So, women don't really need to know about pleasure.
Mhm.
That's definitely for sure. It's not about pleasure. My mom was driving me up Glenmore Trail towards Blackfoot. And she said, Susan, one day you're going to drink too much and a man's going to put his hand on your boob and you won't know when to stop. End of sentence, end of story, end of talk.
Okay.
What an intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. When my kids got their sex ed talk kind of forms home, it talked about how, hey, we're going to be talking about sex education, blah, 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 blah. This is what we cover. Can you please reinforce this at home by talking about chastity and abstinence? And I was like, no, I cannot. I will talk to you about consent, trust, and respect. That's what I will talk to you about. And so we'd be at the dinner table and I would, every time the letter came home, I'm like, all right, guys, it's our yearly chat about consent, respect, and trust.
Yes.
And then we would talk about it. And one year, one of my kids asks, I don't understand how you can wear a tampon and go pee. Do you have to take out the tampon every time? And I'm like, you don't even know what the female body looks like. So I found a diagram online and I showed it to them. I'm like, this is where we pee. This is where the baby goes. This is where sex happens. This is where we poo. Like, I had to show them. And I'm like, how do you not know this? This was in late junior high, like grade 9.
Yes.
I'm like, how do you not know this?
But I guess if you've not taken the time to take a peek at someone else, you're just assuming it through the lens of what your body does. And if everything happens through the same tube.
But I feel like there should be like a smart board presentation that shows the people the different things that happen on it at school.
That's what's so weird about it, is that there's certain school divisions and certain, like, well, this was a public health nurse that have put together these incredible curriculums. So it exists, but it's just random whether or not you get it or not, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's also, to me, kind of bonkers. Because, like, this program that, like, the public health nurse, like, government of Alberta program has put together is stellar.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then it's just random whether or not your teacher even knows that you can bring in a public health nurse to teach that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whether your school system allows it.
Yeah.
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 I had kind of a mix of, like, I went to a public high school, so then I was eventually filled in on some things then. But because the initial teaching was in a small private Christian school, it was kind of something similar to what you were saying, Susan, where it's like just about abstinence, chastity, like basically just
close your legs.
Here's what happened, but just don't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, like, because it was ingrained in kind of that, like, formative middle school-y kind of years, it's almost like in high school when we started getting information about sexual health, I was just kind of still in this headspace of like, well, I'm not doing that. So, checked out, tuned out. And then the effects of that later in adult life, like I'm way later into my 20s going through this, like, late bloomer chaos and making very, very foolish choices and discoveries because I didn't listen and learn when it mattered, and then didn't really, kind of fumbled my way through learning later. And that's just it kind of makes me angry that that's how I was taught earlier.
I don't know if you guys seen the TV show Sex Education.
No, I keep being told you got to watch it.
You have
it's amazing.
to watch it. It's so good. I love it so much. Anyhow, I would watch this, and when my kids are in grade 8, we sit down, because I feel like that's the age where it's like really lots of questions are coming up. Lots of, like, they've seen some stuff on friends' phones that friends are asking questions and talking about stuff. And they're like, I always told my kids, whatever your friends say at school, agree, say you know what they're talking about, laugh about it if they're laughing about it, and then come home and you can ask me about it. And I'll tell you what it is, I promise. And then you're going to get the real information. Anyhow, so we would sit down and watch Sex Education, which is a little far-fetched. People don't have sex on the front lawn of the high schools here. But a lot of it is so relevant and is so, like, in such a healthy check in with yourself. And how are you feeling? Why do you feel like that? And what's your partner? And it's about connection, which is so opposite to porn, right? So anyhow, I love it. And so then at the end of one episode, I say to my kids, I'm like, you can ask me any question at all about anything, and I will answer you. And so they'll ask me a bunch of questions, and I'll answer all the questions as, like, just, this is normal and this is what happens. And I remember the first time, Cade, I don't know how old he was. He must have been like 10 or 8 or something like this. And I think my oldest son was asking more questions. And then and they're like, well, why do people even do it? And I'm like, well, it feels good. And Kate goes, what? It does? I'm like, it feels really good. I'm like, of course it feels good. Otherwise, no creature on earth would ever procreate, right? We wouldn't, like bumblebees wouldn't, like insects, nobody would unless it felt good. So of course it feels good. I'm like, I would rather you watch shows that have, like, nudity than gun violence.
Yes.
I would rather you watch, like, that kind of stuff, or, not just gun violence, any kind of violence. I'd rather you be a human that can be in a relationship and, like, feel sexually confident, or feel like you're comfortable with your partner, that you can explore and learn, which is something that I say, but as being raised as Catholic-y, when my oldest started a relationship and it started to go more and more sexual, I found myself really having to hold myself back with my instincts of wanting to be like, don't do that. That's not okay.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And I was like, whew, I have taught him completely different than how I think and feel. And so I needed to like,
Because it's like mentally you've figured out a new kind of system.
and the
but
way I
there's-
feel,
but
but
like the like beliefs in the body.
yeah, just the
linger from
natural
the-
instinct.
Yeah.
It's just like parenting all the way with the first one. A lot of it's instinct. And then by the fourth, I'm like, oh yeah, that was all sorry. Sorry, first one. That was all wrong. Fourth one, I'm like, let's talk about it. How are you feeling? Okay, like it's not totally woke where it's like there's no consequences or anything like this, but it's like definitely more of a we're gonna get this through together. Like this is not the end of the world. Nothing's the end of the world, right? Anyhow.
Yeah.
Mm.
I remember teaching a class who was like, what you said. I was teaching a class, the public health nurse was going to come in. And I was like, I said that to them. I was like, you guys have seen so many movies and things that have violence in them. And then when we see something sexual or people kissing, we're all like, oh my God, it's so weird and gross. But I was like, I hope for all of you that you have intimate relationships in your lives and that none of you ever have to deal with guns. Like,
Yeah.
let's like flip over like what we expose people to and kids and everything and what we normalize, you know?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
It's so weird what we're like okay with our kids or even ourselves. Like watching, I remember, oh, what's her name? Hannah Montana.
Oh, Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
She was being interviewed and she's like, I think we need a little bit of a check. I can literally go on TV and learn how to cook meth, but I can't say the F word. She's like, I think we need a little bit of a check on our social standards here.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a bit of a mess.
It is a mess.
Yeah.
And so I tell my kids, like, they're allowed to use swear words if they use it in the right context. As long as you not, because Cade went through a phase where he was like, frickin' this, frickin' that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, it's not a filler. It's not an or an and. Like, there's a purpose for this. And so, yeah, I'm like, I'm okay with you swearing as long as you're using it the proper way and you're not being disrespectful to the people that are around you kind of thing. So,
Yeah. Oh, what a thing. I know that I use swears in a weird way. Like I know I have very colorful language when
What do you mean in a weird way?
Like, I don't know. Just the way that I stack them is like an
Ah,
unusual, it's an unusual way to
Oh, I want to hear.
yeah. I can't even think of like how I do it right now, but I just know that like sometimes I'll be swearing and people are like, whoa, that's
creative.
visceral. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to stick
Yeah.
around for bonus
For
material.
bonus,
on
yeah,
YouTube to see what you
the
actually
B
say.
side, yeah, yeah. I know that,
Amazing.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
well, even your phone. What was it? Fart? What is it?
Fart snack.
Fart snack is like
Yeah.
a autocorrect in her phone.
Yeah, my last name is Farhall, and when I write FAR, my autopredict is fart snack. But it's also like of all the people in the world, I feel like, of course, that would
Yeah.
be for my phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fart snack.
So I saw not last, but I recently I saw you post that you were doing a residency in Jasper.
Yeah.
Is that right? What did you do there?
So sometimes I'll get hired to go play at the Fairmont Lodge in Jasper, and they basically hire a musician for the month to play 5 nights a week. In the evenings, they have a main hall where the concierge and like check-in is, as well as a big restaurant. And it's just kind of a hub for all the activity of the resort. And in the middle, there's a big fireplace. And then beside the fireplace, there's a little station set up for musicians. So just go there in the evening and set up and sing covers and stuff while people are eating and checking in and hanging out. And then part of the gig is that they put you up in an apartment there. So you get your own 1-bedroom apartment, and staff meals are covered as well. So I did it for the month of October, the month of December, 3 weeks in February, March, and then I'm going to be going back for the holidays this next upcoming December.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
And it's just awesome because
Yeah.
it pays decent. But it's just a small, 3.5 hour chunk in the evening. And then besides that,
You're free.
I'm free in Jasper.
Oh.
And there's all these like animals at the lodge. Like you walk around and there's like elk everywhere and deer and you go a little like more into trails and stuff. There's moose and bears and
Amazing.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you have your own music. You write and produce your own music too.
I do write and
record.
produce my own music. Yeah. Yeah. My music is a little more like melancholic, sad girl rock kind of vibe. So I don't often actually sing that stuff when I'm doing gigs like at the Fairmont because they want it to be cheery and every
And
once in a
familiar.
while,
They
yeah,
probably
and
want familiar
familiar,
stuff,
yeah, exactly. But every once in a while, I'll slide an original in, and sometimes people like that. But before I was doing like these kind of gigs, I had a stint where I was busking a lot, and I used to sing some of my more sad music a lot while I was busking. But that was also a discovery process of some people late at night walking around, they connect to that sad song and they like it and it's really meaningful to them. And other people do not want to hear the sad. And I remember one time singing a song that was, meant a lot to me. It was a personal song. And a guy walking by on the street just yelled at me, "Jesus, sing something cheerful for God's sake." Oh, wait. I just realized I'm like yelling in the mic. I was like, "Jesus, sing something cheerful for God's sake." He was pissed. And it kind of hurt my feelings, but then it also kind of made me laugh.
Now I'm going to sing a really sad song.
Yeah.
This guy just drove by.
Yeah.
Just singing about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine that would be you probably have lots of stories about like busking experiences or that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some stuff that happens out there. Some people, I think because singing can be such an emotional thing, like there are these moments of connecting with people at different states, and a lot of people are very grateful for the music, but I think there's also maybe people who are living unhoused outside who are already like are having a hard time, and then something about the emotional charge of someone singing actually like really pisses them off. So I've also had people like come up and like spit in my guitar case and throw garbage at me. Like just
Have
like
you ever been like scared?
pissed.
Like, does it scare you at all?
Actually don't really get scared of that. Like there are things that scare me in life, but I would say like aggression is not one of them. I feel pretty grounded and able to like clap back at people or deal with situations like that. Like I don't go into what, like, as far as fight or flight goes, I just automatically like go fight and feel okay, but doesn't mean it like feels great.
Yeah.
But one thing I'll say is that one time this guy came up early on when I was busking and got up right in my face and was like, "You think you're good? Like you suck, like you're the worst, like you should go home and practice," and was saying all the stuff that actually a little bit did hurt my feelings. But then he proceeded to walk 5 feet to the side and start kicking a garbage can, and he like kicked it like 20 times in a row. And I had this epiphany where I thought, oh, this guy everything he just said to me is very similar to my own judgment and voice in my head about myself and all the fears I have about myself, that I'm not good enough and I should go home and no one wants to hear this. And he was like the voice in my head, but then he turned around and started kicking a garbage
You're like, maybe this
can.
voice
And I was
isn't
like, maybe
strong.
my voice is a little like,
Harsh.
a little off.
Yeah.
And it's like it took that voice out of its position of power and made it just seem a little more like silly, or like, oh, there's other things going on for my voice and I don't have to, it's no longer an authority that is intelligently telling me what I am or am not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually had the other day I was driving home from something and I was like, oh, should I be doing that? Should I be doing all this stuff? And then I was just like, shut up, ego. shut up, I hate you, just stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like everything just quieted down, and I drove and I'm like, yeah, it's better. Because it's the ego, right? That's just telling you you're not good enough and that you should quit. And what do you think? Who do you think you are that you deserve this space or whatever, right? Just tell that ego to just take a hike. I don't need you.
Yeah.
Screw that.
Yeah.
So our time is up. That's our time. But I have,
Cool.
I still want to ask you
It was
about,
so nice hanging out and talking.
I know what I want to know about working on set with Paige and being a lead actor in a feature film. But that's not to do with music and all this stuff. And you did the music design for like, there's so much stuff I still want to talk to you about.
Oh.
So we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah.
But thank you so
Just
much.
hang out.
Yeah.
We're doing a tradition of a really awkward 3-person hug at the end. So are you
Oh,
game?
is every hug different, or do you do the same kind of?
We don't really,
Yeah,
it's
just-
organically somehow different.
Okay.
Now look, see, this is already different.
Where does the head go?
I don't know.
Ooh, ain't it nice to be completely off time?